Hey, this is Brad from Argali, and today I'm going to show you how to start and run a fire in our Skyline Ti stove. All right, first thing you're going to want to do before you get started with your fire or starting a fire is to gather the right amount of wood and the right sizes of wood. So what I have here before me is kind of the 4 different sizes of wood that I like to have with me before I ever get started, and I usually would gather a bunch of this stuff so I have it handy. So first are your fine pieces of wood, your small kindling that you're going to use to get fire started. As small as you can get, as dry as you can get, obviously you're going to want that stuff. And then you have sort of the next step up from there, slightly larger pieces of wood. I've pre-cut all these so I know they're going to fit inside our 15-inch stove box here. That is one of the nice things about our stove in particular, is we have a longer stove box length than most other stoves out there, so you can fit some longer pieces of wood. And then as you can see, I've got some bigger pieces of wood, and finally I've got some pretty big rounds, or a big round right there, that I will be using. I like to use, especially if I'm planning to have a fire for a while, I like to use as big a rounds as I can get. You're obviously going to need some type of saw to cut that size of a round, but I typically carry like a silky saw or a small folding saw with me so I can cut larger rounds. Last thing I have here is a fire starter. These Vaseline-soaked cotton balls are my personal favorite DIY fire starter. I make these at home. I put them in a little Ziploc bag, and then I use them all the time when I'm out in the woods. So what I'm going to do to get started here is I've got 2 of my Vaseline-soaked cotton balls. I'm going to put them in kind of the middle of some of this kindling wood here, and what that's going to allow me to do is I'm going to be able to light it, and then I'm going to be able to put this inside the firebox. One of the hard things is sometimes it's hard to reach in and light the kindling when it's inside the firebox. It's just not a huge space. And what I'm going to do before I get the fire started is I'm going to open the damper on the front here, and then you're going to open the top damper as well. So that way you're not allowing any air restrictions to happen on the stove. So I'm going to go ahead and light this. And slowly start feeding more sticks in there. Trying not to put out the fire. And I like to take the door off when I'm doing this. You'll notice I've got our door off the stove here. Once the fire gets going and the smoke starts going out the chimney, it's gonna just naturally start drawing out the chimney there. And so it won't smoke out your tent. But to get it going, I like to leave the door open until I start, the flame really starts going. I'm trying not to smother the fire here as I'm doing this. Starting to catch now, and here in a minute it's going to start drawing out the chimney, and then I won't have to worry about the smoke coming out the front door. If I was concerned about the smoke coming out the front door, you could certainly put the door on here. I'm going to take it off just so you can kind of see what's going on. So you can see the fire's getting going in there. I'm not to the point now where I want to start putting those bigger sticks in. You probably could, but I like to make sure I get a lot of heat in there before I upgrade to bigger sticks. And you can see we got a pretty good flame going in there now. So now I don't mind. I'm going to toss a bigger round on there. Let those catch. I'm going to put the stove door back on. One of the things you'll notice is that as soon as this fire starts getting hot, and I can tell you because I'm sitting right next to it that it is pretty darn hot, is that once you get that heat starts going and the smoke starts going out the chimney, it just naturally is going to draw pretty much all of the smoke right out the chimney, and you don't have really anything coming out the door anymore. At this point in time, I would just start loading more wood inside the stove box, and then I would let that kind of burn and get really hot, and then I would start adding consecutively bigger pieces of wood in there until I got to just the really big rounds. So that's pretty much all there is to it. If you have any questions about how to get a fire started in our Skyline Ti stove, feel free to drop a comment on this video or reach out to us, and we'd be happy to answer your questions.